Yo, what's going on guys? Rhys here from Stoic Pool, and in this video we're going to be doing week 2 of the Plutus Pioneers Program. Let's get into it. Right. Okay, right, so for week 2 of the Plutus Pioneers Program, we're going to need to make sure that we've got our Plutus Playground alive, but we're going to do most of the work in VS Code. Right, so the first thing that we're going to need to do, we're going to need to get up VS Code. And if you've watched my previous one, then you've seen how we set up the VM with VS Code before. So I'm just connected in, I've SSH'd into my Plutus VM. And the first thing that you need to do is actually update the repo. So we go cd Plutus, oh, we don't do a thing first. Plutus Pioneer Program, because there's new stuff, right? There's new stuff that's been added. So you need to go to git fetch. And it'll show new things, and then you say git pull, and then it'll download the new things, and then you'll have week 2. You see this on my side? I've got week 2 here. Look, it's really cool. Plutus Pioneer. Oh no, I've just collapsed it. Okay, so we'll have week 2, and that's basically the only change. So just make sure you've got that. Then you can go cd. Oh no. I'm not supposed to be searching. Get out of there. Close that. I'm in the wrong blooming window. So then we can go in here. We go CD. We can go to Plutus apps. And if you have your Explorer set, so look here, we've got just in the root. We're in the server, but we're not in Plutus Pioneers or Plutus app in our Explorer. That's really handy because then we can just nip between them and check the files as necessary, right? So we can go in here, we can go code week 2, and then we can come down to CABAL project and we can make sure we've got the right checkout because we need to do the new checkout. And it's the first thing here. Plutus apps.git and then tag 6AF. So make sure when you go into Plutus apps, and then you go git check out this tag. Is that selected? It's hard to tell. Bam. And there you go. That's really important. Remember, we did that before. It's really important that you get that right because otherwise you might build the wrong stuff when you do CABAL build. So now we can go nix shell, just like we did in the previous video. And we don't need this anymore, so I'm just going to get rid. Well, that's nix shelling about. Once we're in nix shell, it might take a minute to actually update itself again because it's rebuilding. But once we have that, we just take a quick swig of coffee. And we're ready to crack on with the rest of the video. So we go here. We're in nix shell in Plutus apps. And now we need to go to, I'm not in there again. CD. And we need to go back into the Plutus Pioneers Program. Folder. I wish it was smaller, right? When you have to type it out like this, you just wish it was like PPP, but it's not. And then you can go CABAL build, and it's going to say, no, you can't CABAL build here because we're in the wrong thing. We've got to go to code first, and then, right, so I typed that wrong, sorry. Now we're here. Now we can go CABAL build. Way, he figured it out. Well done, Rhys. So this is going to take a minute. It's going to like go through and build CABAL all over again. That's okay. But once you've got that, then you're able to go to the REPL, CABAL REPL. And in this week, we use the REPL a lot more. Just when Lars is showing us some examples and getting us to test out different data and kind of find out more about the types that we're using and stuff like that. So it's really handy to have this up. This is a good thing. Have it up and then you can have a check. But we're not going to worry about that because we're not going to be going through and like explaining everything. In another nix shell, right? Make sure you have the server. And in another nix shell, make sure you launch the server client so that you have the Plutus Playground ready, okay? Remember what the Plutus Playground looks like. It's this web one. And also remember, when you have Plutus Pioneer, the Plutus Playground, you need to do the HTTPS. If you don't do that, I know you've already done it because you did it last week, but just to remind you, HTTPS, otherwise it won't work. Cool. So now we've done that. Let's go back here. So we can get rid of this terminal now because we don't really need it. And we can open up. So Lars basically takes us through the validator types and the validator script basically and how that works. So we did 2 examples. We did untyped validators, so that's like this. It's inline make validator here. This is one of his examples, and then he talks about how the validator is created and the script, and then the validator hash and the script address. And he basically explains how all those are connected, how created from the datum and the redeemer, and how it'll only function if the datum and redeemer are right. Or in this case, it doesn't matter. Like, you're not specifying anything here, just leaving empty gaps. So he kind of goes over that. And then he goes into the typed one. And I'm just going to gloss over this because you guys should just check out the videos, all right? So you can learn about it. I'm not going to learns you all about this stuff right now. But this is it, the make validator. And he's specified a redeemer here, and he's going on about it being typed. So instead of having is data or whatever it was, what is it? Built-in data. Then it becomes typed data. So it's looking for a unit, it's looking for an integer, it's looking for script context. And then it's going to kick out a bool, which is going to say true or false, the script can run, basically. So that's what this is. And we do the trace if false, if it returns the wrong information. And then in this example, the integer is 42. And then he talks about how type data creates the datum and redeemer. Uses the datum and the redeemer, and then how that is turned into the type validator, and then a validator and a validator hash, and then a script address. Okay, so we do all that in the video. Check it out. Make notes. All right, I made loads of notes here, not here. This is the wrong one. I made loads of notes here for when I went through it. Okay, and I just copied those off the thing. But I'm going to share with you this file. You can just go to my GitHub repo, which the link will be down below. And I basically do everything that he does. So I start with this, I make a bunch of notes, I do the next thing, make a bunch of notes, and I'm just talking myself through all the things. So I'm going to share this with you. If you just want some notes, if you didn't take any, you just watch the video and you just want access to them, then you can see all this stuff that I did. All right, super handy for you. But yeah, so that's what he walks through. He basically shows us all that stuff, and then he gives us 2 bits of homework, and that's really what this video is about, right? Getting these contracts to work. So the first one, homework 1, he's basically saying we have a type validator, we're going to have a unit datum, so any datum would work, and then we're going to have a pair of bools. And what we need to do is make sure that the validator works. It says this should only validate if the 2 booleans are in the redeemer are equal. So this redeemer value here, which is going to fit in here on our little list, it needs to be a pair of trues or a pair of falses. They need to match. They can't be a true and a false. And that's what he's saying we need to do. So then aside from that, that's just the main thing. All right, that's the first thing. Then the second thing we need to do is just fix these instances. So we need to make sure that the typed data is accurate. We need to make sure that the typed validator is right. The actual validator spews out the right thing. We get a good, the right hash and a script address. Okay, we just need to make sure we get all of those things in. Now those are super easy. We're just basically copying the same stuff that was in the other thing. So you don't need to worry about that too much. There's a couple of little changes that need to be done. Okay, and I'm going to open up my homework now. You know what, before we do that, so first I'm going to show you everything that I did, and so you can get the answer. Right, spoiler alert, I'm going to be sharing the answers to the homework, but first up we're just going to address this bool thing. Okay, because when you first come to do this, you might think, oh, you know, we just got to have bool equals bool, right, in the pair. So you might have, let's go, bam, enter, and then we'll go trace if false, and I can already not type today, and we go wrong redeemer, which was basically the error that he was saying. Or we can go, you'd go, what would you say? You'd say bool equals bool, right? And you might think, yeah, cool, that means if it's true and it equals true, and if it's false and it equals false, then all good. But that's not actually right. That just makes the compiler freak out, basically. So what we need to do instead is we need to enable us to do some handy little maths to check this, okay? And the solution is actually very simple. All you need to do in here is you need to, instead of it expecting a bool and a bool, you need to, for this specific example, change that to an A or a B, which is like a normal Haskell thing. and then you go A equals B. And now it's not, oh, BS. Now Haskell, the compiler isn't going to freak out when you try and compile it. So that's going to be all good. So that's it. That's that issue. Yeah, the yes and the true and true, or the false and false. And it doesn't matter what these things are, because they're always going to be referenced in a bool. And if they're not a bool, then it's not going to work. So then we come to the next bits, and I'm not going to talk you through and type this whole stuff out, this whole thing out, right? Because it'll just take me ages, and you guys, you're busy people, you got other things to do. So we're just going to go on Rhys's homework. So you can see I did this, wrong redeemer, A double equals B, just like that. And this is just a Boolean equals. And so we've gone data typed, and I've copied this straight from the other one. So if we go is data, and we come down here, you'll see type instance, datum typed, redeemer type typed, and the type and typed thing is really confusing, so I'm just not going to say that over and over again, alright? But here he's got, let's go on this one. Here he's got a unit and an integer, and this redeemer is saying that it's an integer, which up here it is, but in our homework it's a bool. So we need to change it to a pair of bools, right? Because that's what it is. You can see it highlights it up here as well as it highlights it down here. Okay, so that bool and this bool need to be the same, or if there's something else, they need to be the same. And then we go down here, and where we do wrap scripts, the script wrap validator, we've got at a unit, which is for the datum, which we have here. The type is there, which is what we're accurately represented here. And then we've got at a pair of bools, which is this at the pair of bools here for the type. And we got that at the pair of bools is what it's expecting. So that's super simple. And that's it. Then the rest is just normal. So we've got scripts validator, script type validator for our validator. Then we got the val hash. We got scripts validator hash type validator. And then we got script address. And the script address is made from the validator. And that's it. That's it. That's done. Homework 1. Now there was another one homework one. So for this one, this is the actual homework. What he does is he gives us another little spinny, another spanner in the works, and he goes, we're going to use a bit of arbitrary bit of data, which is a specified new data type, which we're calling myRedeemer. So myRedeemer, we've got, what he wants us to do is have a pair of flags. So instead of just having bool, like a pair of bools, he's having a pair of bools, but they're in flags. And this is just an overly complicated way of doing the other one. Alright, but you might want to use it for something else, I guess, so why not, right? And this is a Plutus TX unstable makers data, which you can check out in the, if you did the documentation build, you know, the build and serve docs, so you can check out all the documentation, then you can have a look into that more. He does a bit in the video, and you can just check it out. Alright, but for this, what we're going to need to do is we basically have the same thing, where we have two bools that need to match, but the data is presented in a different way. So we're going to go, what are we going to do? I've completely forgotten. We're going to go, it's myRedeemer, isn't it? So first we've got to trace if false, and we're going to say, oops, silly redeemer. Because it doesn't really matter what you say, as long as you print something that you can reference, right? And then we're going to go dollars, and we need the two bools to match. So now let's address this. We need our redeemer to basically give us the two bools, and then we're going to need to query if the two bools work. So the way that we do this is we just add the function in, my redeemer, and it needs to take the two bools, the two flags, right? So you're going to flag A for flag 1 and B for flag 2. You just take them in as arguments. And so then you just specify that those arguments need to be the same. I don't know if my head's going to be in the way of that. But look, we literally just specify that these are A's and B's and not bools, and then we just print the same thing again. It's exactly the same. We just have a slightly more complex input. Yeah, a slightly more complex actual redeemer that's made from this function. And then the rest of it's the same. Then you just put the things in. Now, there is actually a little caveat to that. So if I open my homework, so I've got wrong redeemer because I wasn't as creative as I'm feeling right now. And then I've gone exactly the same instance, type instance, but instead of a pair of bools here, we've got my redeemer, because that's what it's expecting in the function. And then the type validator, again, we're referencing my redeemer, and we're not putting a pair of bools, obviously, because that's not what we're using. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. validator script, validator hash, script address, bam. And that's it. And you can test both of these in the playground to make sure they work. All right, I had a couple of mistakes because I was mistyping, and so that was freaking it out. And also another silly thing I did, because I was just typing this out all myself, which I recommend you do when you're learning stuff like this, by the way, guys, not just copy and paste it, but actually type it out, because it'll help you just commit it to memory, you know, is in here I put validator hash instead of validator script. Like an idiot. So we just get rid of that, and we got to make sure that's script. And so that was just a mistake I made. All right, but luckily when you compile it, it does tell you. It goes, Rhys, you've done it wrong, you fool. And then you can fix it. And it'll just show you what it is. And all you got to do is have a look at that line in your script and then adjust it accordingly. So we're going to have a little look at this. Let's just import it. I'm going to copy, Control-C, and I'm just going to do the last one because they'll both work, right? If the last one works, then they both work because they're basically the same. Right, wicked. So I've just copied my my new contract in, and this is homework 2. You see we've got our data type myRedeemer up there. So I've just copied it in. I'm going to go compile. Nice and easy. While that's compiling, quick coffee break. Delicious. Compilation successful. So, we're going to simulate. And now, when we simulate, we need to start, we don't start with like pay to wallet, we start with the contract we're giving and we're grabbing. So it's like a donation or a gift contract, right? So we go give here. And we're going to give, let's do 50 ADA. Because it's in Lovelaces. And then we need to wait. We need to wait for one slot. And then we're going to, oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Then I'm going to grab from the other wallet. And we're just going to leave them both as false. Wait until one slots. And then we're going to evaluate. So what we've done now is we've basically just inputted. And then we've waited for a second while it processes that. And then we've given the info for whether it's going to, whether the flags basically, are they both true, are they both false, or are they different? And then we waited another slot for the thing to evaluate and do the transaction. So at the start, everyone's got 100 ADA. Slot 1, we got a 10 Lovelace fee, and we've got 50 ADA going into the script. Perfect. And then slot 2, we got 50 ADA in the script, and it's being paid to wallet 2. Lovely. And how does that look? Delicious. So that's worked. Perfect. Obviously there's minus the fee. Now, in the script you're paying indoors, which is crazy because why would the script be paying the script, right? You'd normally pay the transaction fees up front. But for some reason it just pays it internally. I guess it's because it just doesn't specify. It doesn't really matter. But that's worked fine. There's no weird bug reports. We've just got loads and loads of interesting words and crazy maths. But you can see here it's worked fine. And so that's what's important. The thing works fine. Right, and that's it, guys. That's the whole video. So this is how you do the homework and how you update, because if you didn't update, like you didn't pull the new info off GitHub, then you won't have week 2. And I can already imagine that'd be a stumbling block for some people. So right, so if you want to get hold of these solutions, if you want to have a look at the code, or you want to get my notes, because I made loads of notes, you can go here. You can go into my GitHub repo, which I'll link to below, and you can check out my deets. And in week 2, we got each of the homeworks, and we've got the validator script notes, which is just all the notes that I made during the videos, basically. I recommend you check it out if you haven't. If you're struggling with it, maybe look through my notes. I might have just written down something in the way that I've been thinking about it that might help you, right? So it might be of assistance. Right, guys, that's it for this video. Almost knocked my little plant spray. Bloody hell, I'm a nightmare. Right, guys, that's it for this video. If you like what you've seen, as always, give us a like, subscribe for more Cardano and Stoic videos every week. Leave any questions or comments you got in the box below. All the links to my GitHub, etc. are all downstairs, so go and check them out. Otherwise, I'll catch up with you in the next one. See you then.